VRay users, Alex here, your VRay guide, and welcome to the third sample of our upcoming training, VRay Basic Lighting. Today we're gonna get a little bit more creative, and I'm gonna show you how you can make this custom-made wall with paint splashes and some good GI. So we're gonna use bake to texture method with some custom-made Photoshop brushes. All right, so let's dive in and take our wall here. I'm gonna click Alt Q, isolate it, go TZ. And something that I want to show you here is something that I do to all the sharp walls that we have. I take an angle and I chamfer it. That way my corners will not look super sharp. That gives a little bit softer look to those sharp angles. Okay, so if I go back to my camera C, I click on the polygon, I select that wall, and I detach it. That's the best way to work with baking textures method. You kind of isolate each wall and you work it separately. Of course, you can render a big texture, but then when the texture is getting too big, it's hard to load everything into RAM. So that's why I like to isolate my walls and work them separately. Okay, so let's call it orange wall. Click OK. And I can get out of my isolation mode. Select that orange wall and let's apply texture to it. So I'm going to use one of the textures that we share with this workshop. It's this one. It's tiled, so I can apply it to my entire wall. I'm gonna drag and drop it here. And let's call it orange wall. That way we'll have same names everywhere. Click apply. Okay, now we can add a little bit of UVW map because it looks a bit stretched, and those geeks look a little bit too big in compared to everything. So let's make it a little bit smaller. UVW box, and let's increase a little bit those styles here. So tiling, we can move the gizmo a little down, so somewhere here looks much better. I'm trying to go and remove those lines here. I have one here and one up, so I'm trying to not to show them in the render. So something like this. Okay, looks good. Now we can go and start baking this. I'm gonna use bake to texture method. If we go to rendering, we'll be able to find render to texture, and by clicking here and applying that, we'll be able to get our orange wall here automatically added to the selection. Now what we need to do is go and add passes and elements that we want to use. So we get the regular ones here at the top, and we get the MR, it's the mental ray one, but all this VRay stuff that we get here. So I'm going to take most of those maps and reflection filters. Okay, let's take those, click add elements. Now we can go to the highest resolution, which is 2000 here, and just click render. Now those being followed do not specify target map slot, so we can click continue. And by the way, if you guys paid attention, when we clicked render, the automatic flatten UVs was added to that map. So that that flattens that UVs of that map automatically. Okay, now we can see that in addition to the rendering here of that entire map, we're also getting GI. So this is for the M and this is for the flowers. Somehow the map got flipped, so we're gonna horizontally flip it back in Photoshop. But let's wait to that render to finish up. You can see the render goes pretty fast. So within a few minutes we should have our map ready to go. Alright, so the render was done and we can go ahead and locate it right here in the images, 3ds Max scene assets. You'll be able to find all that stuff that was exported here. You can see it's an orange wall, but we are going to use just this rendered one. So I'm going to take this, click save, and I'm going to save it as TIFF. Call it orange wall. Click save, and let's get a 16-bit color. Now let's open Photoshop and drag our image here, and voila, we got our wall. Now we need to flip it, because if we take a look at our render here, we can see that we have the plants and then we have the M, and here the plants came out on the other side. So image, flip horizontal. Alright, now let's go to another cool website called CG Textures. This one of the famous websites for getting high quality textures. And let's go to plaster, and you can find here a bunch of cool textures that you can download for free with a small resolution, but the big resolution, of course, for premium members. So you can get a premium membership. I think it's like 20 bucks a month or something, and you can go ahead and download the 3000. So I've got the basic one, so 1600 is good enough for me. So I've downloaded a couple of those from the Dirt Plaster Walls, and I got a couple of with cracks, damaged walls. So I'm going to combine something from those maps that I found. Here's the maps, this, and this. So I'm gonna drag and drop it here, and I'm gonna add one by one each texture. So let me just open them up, and we're gonna play a little bit with the blending modes in order to get the right feeling to our image. Position that, Control T to match that, and now we can scroll down with your mouse and find a good combination for that wall. So something like this. Let's get another one. This is a tiled. So with tiles there is a trick. You can use it, define pattern. Let's define this as a pattern. Click OK. Now we can go back to our map, create a new layer, paint it with any color, double click on the layer, patterns here, overlay, and click the one that we just defined. It's going to be the last one. So click OK. Now we need to combine it. So that's what I like to do. Just merge it, and you get this map that can be also added as on a soft light mode as addition to the wall. So that makes it a little bit lighter, which is pretty cool. All right, now let's get a couple of those with the cracks and the paint that spills off. Control T, going to expand by clicking Alt and Shift. That way I'll be able to resize it precisely according to the aspect ratio without losing any proportions. So let's work this out too. So I'm just scrolling and finding a really good combination to add this map to the entire selection here. All right, so I came up with pretty cool custom-made wall. Now what it needs is the splashes. So let's go to Google and we can type in blurs. Yeah, blurs good brush 7.0. Actually it was a 4.0 last time when I did the video, but I guess they did an update and released a new one. So this link, CG Society, will bring you to that post that shows those cool brushes. And if we go to next page, that's a tutorial about how to use and paint those in. But here, thanks to that artist here, Young Swing Guo, we can download those maps to our computer and install them in our Photoshop. So in order to install them, I need to first close and restart my Photoshop. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna save as, call it Orange Wall PSD, save, click OK, and close my Photoshop. I don't need save any other maps. Now I have to go open the folder, extract, and then we get this good brush ABR file that we need to copy. Go to our Photoshop, program files, Adobe, Photoshop, presets, brushes, and paste it here. So you get to see all those brushes that we've got. Now let's launch our Photoshop back again. Open our wall PSD file. Now we can go and start painting this by choosing brushes, right click, and let's find our blurred good brush 4.0. Click OK, and voila, all those brushes have been loaded here. Change it to white color, create a new layer, and let's try a couple of those here. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's try, that's a lighting, looks like a crack, which is pretty cool. Put a couple of those. Here more of that stuff. Let's choose a few more. Let's see, what is this? So you can see, guys, there's like a bunch of those cool splashes that you can add. And if you click Ctrl Shift F, you'll be able to bring the fade panel and control the opacity of that effect. You can also use this as as a razor, so I can use it and erase the splashes to make it look a little bit more organic. All right, let's do a few more. Let's see what it is, guys. Oops. So with this one, actually, I'm gonna paint the sides of my wall. If you guys noticed, it was painted in white. So I'm gonna do something like this. Just nice brush strokes. Fill it up nicely to get that cool effect of the sides, because both of my side walls are in white color. So by doing this, I'm kind of bringing the effect back and merging my walls better with the rest of the environment. All right, so let's check out a couple of those. It's a cool splash. It's a little bit, looks like graffiti. So Control Shift F, you can control the amount of that. Let's see what else. So just keep adding those. You have to do a couple of tests, maybe 3-4 tests, till you get a real good hand of those. It's like everything else. The first time you try it, it might not come out good, but the more you keep working with it, it kind of can show much better results because you get more proficient with whatever you do. Okay, stuff like this, and let's add a couple of more lighting effects here that I saw. And we have leaves, we have a bunch of cool stuff. So alright, so something like that would work fine. Now let's go ahead and save that image. Actually, let's click Ctrl Shift Alt E and create an image from everything below and add some sharpen. What I like to do is I like to go on the high pass mode, put it on a high pass, get really nice thin lines here. You can only see them when you zoom in. So that's our sharpen, and put this on the overlay mode. So voila, we got our sharpen really well done. Now with this effect, I can go ahead and save it. Let's do a JPEG, orange wall, diffuse. And let's do another one for the bumps. So I'm gonna click hue saturation, reduce the saturation, and save that as JPEG, orange wall, bump. Okay, now let's go back to Max and load this into our material with the one that we just created. So I'm going to drag it here. And apply it to my wall. Now we need to fix it a little bit. So I'm going to remove the automatic and fit my map by adding another UV box, and let's flip it Now we can move it up a little bit, and let's stretch it a little bit to match our wall. Select the gizmo and move it down. Somewhere about here would be right. Perfect. Now we're getting the shadows of our objects here. Let's click P, Z in order to zoom in, so you guys can see that we're getting those nice, cool looking shadows that were actually baked in. So this is going to enhance the photorealism in your image. All right, so now let's add a bump to it. So I'm going to duplicate this, drop it down here into bump with the copy, and let's load our bump. Click open. All right, the bump is on the place. Now I like to do another thing to my textures, is to reduce the blur amount. That means my image is gonna get a little bit crispier final look. So really low blur to my image. Okay, now we can go ahead and render and see what we get. All right, so from the preview we can see already that the light has got more impact and got more presence in our image, because we actually baking the light and then producing the light within the render. So we're getting double impact of all this soft lighting, which is ambient occlusion and global illumination to the objects. I always like zooming in into the image and see how the results being rendered, and we can see that this image got nice and crisp look to it. That thanks to the blurring effect that we did, that we reduced the blur in order to give really nice and sharp presence to the splashes and all those little details that we have in our wall. So while this render is going, I want to show you some more brushes that you can download. So if you guys just type in free Photoshop brushes, you'll be able to find a bunch of cool stuff that Google finds me here. Those are pretty cool, with splashes, with more splashes. We have some free lens flares, so a bunch of free cool stuff that you can download, implement in your upcoming future renders. All right, it's all free, so get creative, get fancy with your renders, and I hope you like this tutorial. Share it with your friends. This is Alex, your VRay guide. Ciao.